Tonight on News Prime, President Tinubu orders Nigerian missions in South Africa to set up crisis unit. In business, the federal government rejects return of fuel subsidy price control measures. On the foreign scene, Democrats demand U.S. Commerce Secretary's resignation over Epstein links. And in sports, Confederation of African Football readmits Nigeria into Grade A coaching convention. Hello and a very warm welcome to all of our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Uyi Agumofwegbe, reminding all of our viewers that we are on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Tonight, let's begin by telling you President Bola Tinubu has directed Nigerian missions in South Africa to immediately establish a crisis notifications unit for imperiled citizens. Minister of Foreign Affairs Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu warned that the ongoing anti-foreigner campaign in the country may be more accurately described as Afrophobia than xenophobia. The directives followed a phone conversation between Odumegu Ojukwu and her South African counterpart Ronald Lamola amid worsening tensions in the Southern African nation. The Senate has passed the 2026 Statutory Appropriation Bill for the Federal Capital Territory (FCT), approving a total expenditure of 2.285 trillion naira for the administration and development of the nation's capital. The passage followed the presentation and consideration of the harmonized reports of the Senate and House of Representatives Committee on the Federal Capital Territory during plenary in Abuja. The report was presented by Austin Akobundu, Vice Chairman of the Senate Committee on FCT, on behalf of the Chairman, Ibrahim Bumai. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has directed contractors handling major projects in Abuja to meet delivery timelines ahead of President Bola Tinubu's third anniversary in office. Kabir Hassan now reports.
The directive came during an inspection of the ongoing project across the capital, including the Jahi-Gwarimpa Inter-Exchange, Airport Road to Kujeo Corridor, and the City Gate development. Wike expressed satisfaction with the pace of work, particularly at the Jahi Interchange project, saying the project is nearing completion.
I'm hopeful that by the end of this month, we may be rounding up with that job. And then from Kuje to the first segment to Gwagwalada, very interesting. The game was doing quite well. We also believe that they will be on time. And then we've been to the City Gate.
At the City Gate, the minister described the development as a major transformation that will improve the appearance of the nation's capital.
1 month, anyone coming to Abuja will see that you have been welcomed with a different landscape, and that's what is required to let you know this is the part of the type of city you are coming in. We're happy with the job they carried out by Julius Berger, a quality job, and we're appointed, we've added additional jobs.
Wike expressed that all projects scheduled for inauguration during the administration's anniversary must be completed on time, adding that the FCT administration is committed to improving infrastructure and connectivity across Abuja. Kabir Hassan, Global TV News.
Many thanks to you, Kabir. The federal government has announced that the National Examinations Council, NECO, will begin conducting computer-based examinations this year as part of efforts to tackle examination malpractice and modernize the country's assessment system. Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, disclosed this during NECO's 25th anniversary celebration held in Abuja. Alausa stated that the transition to technology-driven examinations marks a significant step in strengthening the credibility of public examinations in the country and enhancing Nigeria's competitiveness in global education standards. The House of Representatives has commenced moves to establish a comprehensive national framework for the control and regulation of alcohol consumption in Nigeria in what lawmakers describe as a major step toward addressing the growing social and public health consequences of substance abuse across the country. The bill, sponsored by Chairman of the House Adult Committee on Drug Trafficking, Tobacco and Alcohol Abuse, Oluwatimilehin Adelegbe, said the proposed law was designed to address rising concerns over alcohol abuse and its impact on public health, security, road safety, domestic violence, and youth development. The bill, which has already passed first reading, seeks to regulate the production, importation, distribution, advertisement, marketing, and distribution, consumption of alcoholic beverages in Nigeria, while introducing stronger safeguards for minors and vulnerable groups. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission and the National Drug Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at closing regulatory gaps and strengthening enforcement against unsafe products and unfair market practices. The agreement signed in Abuja is expected to deepen collaboration between both agencies in areas such as product safety, consumer protection, and enforcement of standards. The agreement also introduced a structured system for information exchange between both regulators aimed at eliminating delays that often hinder investigations and enforcement. And now to other stories tonight. The federal government has called upon local government administrations across the federation to take a more active role in promoting inclusive development by fortifying social protection mechanisms at the grassroots level. Senator Abubakar Bagudu, Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, made the call while serving as the special guest of honor at a stakeholder engagement session with local government chairmen. In his address, the minister pointed to the Nigerian Constitution as their primary driver for public service, noting that it imposes both moral and legal duties on officials to secure the welfare of every citizen. Former Governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, says only the Supreme Court of Nigeria can determine the fate of Muhammadu Sanusi II in the ongoing emirship dispute. The former governor emphasized that it is a position which ultimately will be upheld and given effect by Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf in line with the rule of law. Ganduje made the clarification while reacting to reports alleging that he had endorsed Sanusi as Emir of Kano and Chairman of the Kano State Council of Chiefs. In a statement signed by the former Commissioner of Information and his Chief of Staff, Comrade Muhammad Garba, Ganduje describes the reports as a misinterpretation, adding that his reference to Sanusi by his traditional title during the swearing-in ceremony of the Deputy Governor was merely a matter of courtesy and protocol. The Inspector General of Police, Tunji Disu, says effective security in Nigeria can only be achieved through strong collaboration between the police and communities. Speaking on the theme, 42 years of PCRC, a legacy of service, a future of safe communities, the police board described the PCRC as one of the enduring pillars of community-oriented policing in the country. The police boss, represented by Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of logistics and supply, DIG Kenechukwu Onwomelie, stated this during the 32nd anniversary celebration of the Police Community Relations Committee held in Abuja. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, says the Federal High Court in Kaduna has granted former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai access to medical treatment while in custody. The ruling followed a compassionate plea by defense counsel during proceedings in the ongoing trial of the former governor over alleged money laundering and corruption-related offences. El-Rufai and the co-defendant Joel Adoga are facing a 10-count charge before Justice Rilwan Aikawa of the Federal High Court in Kaduna, bordering on alleged conversion and possession of proceeds of corruption, as well as money laundering. This is Global Television, and tonight you are watching the live broadcast of News Prime. News Prime continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign, and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please do not go away.
Hello, thank you for joining us on the weather forecast. Sufficient moisture influx into the country simply means rainfall activities will become more active in many locations in the country. And so for Friday morning, the South-South region, as well as parts of Lagos and Ondo states, will likely experience thunderstorms and rains. Going into the afternoon and evening hours, these thunderstorms will spread further inland to affect other parts of the southern region, extending to the north-central, as well as parts of Kaduna, Adamawa, and Taraba states in the northern region. Very high temperatures are expected in parts of Borno and Yobe states. And with this comes heat stress and dehydration, so it's important to take necessary precaution. Drink lots of water, wear light breathable clothing, and avoid prolonged exposure to sunlight. I am Theodora Itum. Thank you for watching.
Well, thank you so very much for staying with us here on News Prime. The second part of this news broadcast now returns with business. The federal government has ruled out a return to fuel subsidies and the introduction of price control, despite rising global oil prices triggered by tensions between the United States and Iran. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Taiwo Oyedele, spoke during engagements with global investors in Paris, where he highlighted Nigeria's economic outlook and reform trajectory. In a statement, Oyedele said Nigeria would maintain its market-driven approach, stressing that subsidy removal remains irreversible to prevent distortions in the economy. Meanwhile, the rising cost of fuel continues to place pressure on Nigerians, with commuters and transport operators struggling to cope with increasing transport fares and high cost of living. Many citizens say the effects of fuel subsidy removal are still being felt across the country. Kebio Hassan has details.
2023, President Tinubu was elected as Nigeria's president. Shortly after his inauguration, he removed fuel subsidy as part of his administration economic reforms. Since then, fuel prices are sharply rising across Nigeria, with many Nigerians feeling the impact. Today we are out on the street of Abuja to hear what Nigerians can say about fuel subsidy and fuel hike across the country.
Across major roads and bus stops, the effect of rising fuel prices continue to shape the daily lives of many Nigerians. For commuters, transportation has become more expensive, while commercial drivers say the operating costs are becoming increasingly difficult to manage. In some areas, passengers are forced to wait for long hours due to the shortage of vehicles on the road.
The high price of fuel in Nigeria is causing a lot of havoc. The challenges of this fuel is caused by certain elements in this country who feel that things should not be done right.
Lot of challenges. Like before now, I used to pay from here to Maraba 500 at most, but now it's almost 1,000, 1,200.
Transport operators say beyond the high cost of fuel, the country's refining challenge have continued to contribute to the situation. Many believe local refining could help reduce dependency on imported petroleum products and ease the burden on citizens.
My income as a driver has reduced because some passengers refuse to pay according to the price of fuel. It gets more, but when you buy fuel, you discover that there is nothing left for you. Tree has all these capacities with all the money the president is borrowing, and yet they cannot fix the refineries for us to have our fuel. Then it is rather unfortunate, but people are suffering.
The economy is very hard and very bad. The purchasing power is not there. So, and the little one you have, I use it to come to town to look for your daily bread. You spend it.
Some Nigerians are calling for stronger economic reforms and measures to cushion the hardship caused by rising prices.
We have 3 refineries in Nigeria, no one is working. Had they been there working, I don't think this fuel will go to this length. Solution is number 1, let's have a leader that is competent and sound upstairs. We're in a generation where we don't need people who don't understand systems, how systems operate.
I think they should like make provision to reduce the price, and they can, like, if there's no way for them to reduce the price, they can provide buses that will be charging us at a lower price, please.
As Nigeria continues to adjust the realities of fuel subsidy removal, many are calling for lasting solutions to ease the burden on citizens. The debate over fuel pricing and its impacts on the economy remains ongoing. Kabir Hassan, Global TV News.
Many thanks to you, Kabir. The House of Representatives has criticized the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, over what lawmakers call weak regulatory oversight, blaming the agency for the persistently poor quality of telecom services across the country. Speaking on the motion, Jahaz stressed the central role of telecommunications in Nigeria's economy and daily life, while lamenting the widening gap between subscriber expectations and actual service delivery. Lawmakers say the regulator had failed to effectively enforce standards that would compel service providers to deliver reliable connectivity, warning that the situation poses risks to lives and property, especially in emergencies. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has allotted a total of 731.75 billion naira at its Treasury Bills primary market auction as investor demand remained overwhelmingly skewed towards the 364-day instrument, despite marginal declines in swap rates across all maturities. Auction results showed that total subscriptions climbed to 2.41 trillion naira, far exceeding the 700 billion naira offered across the 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day tenors. The Apex Bank also increased allotments above the initial offer size, particularly on the one-year paper, underscoring sustained liquidity conditions and continued appetite for long-dated government securities. On the foreign scene, the Director General of the World Health Organization says he experienced what he called sleepless nights as authorities coordinated the evacuation of patients from a cruise ship linked to a deadly hantavirus outbreak. The vessel MV Hondius remains at the center of growing international health concerns after multiple infections and deaths were recorded on board. Mukhtar Kasim has the rest of the story.
World Health Organization Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus says global health authorities are closely monitoring the hantavirus outbreak linked to the cruise ship MV Hondius. 3 patients were evacuated from the vessel on Wednesday as officials worked to contain the outbreak, which has already claimed several lives and raised concerns across multiple countries. Speaking to AFP, Tedros admitted the situation had been emotionally intense for health officials coordinating the emergency response.
We have about 8 cases now suspected, and 3 of the patients have been evacuated just a couple of hours ago. Last time actually it was a bit of a sleepless night because we have been preparing for this evacuation. And very soon the ship will start sailing, and then of course to the Canary Island, and from there of course the rest of the passengers will move to their respective countries.
And despite concerns surrounding the outbreak, the WHO chief stressed that the current situation does not mirror the early stages of COVID-19 pandemic. He explained that health authorities believe the overall global threats remain limited even as investigations continue into the strain linked to the ship.
So far, the risk to the rest of the world is low, and we're trying to do our best. We have already now some medics, who joined the ship, including staff from WHO, and we will continue to monitor and support the people in the ship, and also monitor the situation outside that.
The Dutch-flagged cruise ship remains under close monitoring as international health agencies continue tracing passengers and assessing possible human-to-human transmission of the virus. Hantavirus is typically linked to exposure to infected rodent droppings, though some strains have shown limited human transmission under specific conditions. Mukhtar Kasim, Global TV News.
of lying to Congress and helping conceal details linked to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Allegations emerged during a closed-door deposition before the House Oversight Committee. Again, Mukhtar Qasim reports.
Tensions rose on Capitol Hill as Democratic lawmakers sharply criticized United States Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick over his past relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Lawmakers accused the billionaire cabinet official of giving misleading testimony during a deposition focused on his links to the disgraced financier, whose connections to powerful figures have fueled years of controversy in the United States. Democratic Representative Yasmin Ansari described Lutnick as dishonest and accused him of enabling a wider cover-up.
Arizona's 3rd District, after what we have seen so far in this transcribed interview, I feel very comfortable saying that Howard Lutnick is a pathological liar who is enabling the most egregious cover-up in American history. We have now gone through by saying that there are real victims here. There are potentially over 1,000 women who were abused and raped when they were children. And even at the bare minimum, Howard Lutnick was aware of these things. He knew. It just demonstrates the culture of enabling these crimes and allowing rich and powerful people like Jeffrey Epstein and all of the other disgusting rich and powerful men who committed these crimes to continue.
Another Democratic lawmaker, Suhas Subramaniam, also called for Lutnick to step down following the hearing.
That was absolutely mind-boggling what we just heard in the room. He was evasive, nervous, he was dishonest. He would not admit to lying, which he clearly did in the podcast. He said he was never in the room with Jeffrey Epstein ever again after the first time he met him. Yet he then admitted that he was in the room with Jeffrey Epstein. I had to ask him whether he and I were in the same room just now, because I couldn't understand his meaning of we were in the same room together. And then he said that Jeffrey Epstein was a sick man, that he would never want to be in the room with him again.
The hearing focused heavily on Lutnick's reported visit to Epstein's private Caribbean island years after allegations against the financier had already become public. Howard Lutnick has not been accused of any criminal wrongdoing, and Republican lawmakers have defended the investigation against claims of political bias. Jeffrey Epstein, who faced multiple sex crime allegations, died in a New York jail in 2019 while awaiting trial. Authorities ruled his death as suicide. Mukhtar Qasim, Global TV News.
We do sincerely appreciate your updates tonight, Mukhtar. Let's now go find some very interesting stories from the world of sports. Nigeria has been admitted into the Confederation of African Football (CAF) Grade A Coaching Convention. The Federation's Coaching Education Project Manager, Jada Zakaria, gave the approval in a letter addressed to the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF. Team Nigeria has arrived in Accra, Ghana for an international friendly boxing tournament against the host nation's Black Bombers and Hitters as part of preparations for the 2026 Commonwealth Games. The delegation will step into action at the Accra Sports Stadium in what serves as a crucial tune-up ahead of the Games scheduled for July 23 to August 2nd in Glasgow, Scotland. Nigeria's squad features a balanced mix of male and female boxers supported by a full technical and administrative crew. Iran's football chief says their World Cup host is FIFA, not Mr. Trump or America, and has called for respect towards the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps IRGC if the nation's team is to travel to the United States for this summer's tournament. There remains uncertainty over Iran's participation at the World Cup because of the war with the US and Israel. Iranian FA chief Mehdi Taj was among a delegation which turned back from the Canadian border before last week's FIFA Congress in Vancouver, Canada, because of what they felt was disrespectful treatment by immigration officials. Tonight, we end News Prime with a look at some of our big stories. President Bola Tinubu has directed Nigerian missions in South Africa to immediately establish a crisis notifications unit for imperiled citizens. In business, the federal government has ruled out a return to fuel subsidies and the introduction of price control despite rising global oil prices triggered by tensions between the United States and Iran. On the foreign scene, Democratic lawmakers in the United States are demanding the resignation of Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick after accusing him of lying to Congress and helping conceal details linked to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And finally, in sports, we told you Nigeria has been admitted into the Confederation of African Football CAF Grade A Coaching Convention. And as always, here's a quick reminder that we are on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using that Global TV NG as well as other handles as you now see on your screen, so you can subscribe, interact, and engage with us. On behalf of my colleagues who have made this news broadcast possible, I am Uyi Agumofwegwe saying a big thank you to you for your time with us. Bye-bye.